there's no recording of it. There's no evidence that he's been balls deep in old Stormy Daniels.
If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. I got the rat patrol on the cat patrol. Foes that want to make sure my casket's closed. Rap critics that say he's money cash holes. I'm from the hood, stupid. What type of facts are those? If you grew up with holes in your zapper toes, you celebrate the minute you was having dope. I'm like, fuck critics, you can kiss my whole asshole. If you don't like my lyrics, you can press fast forward. Got beef with radio if I don't play they show. They don't play my hits. Well, I don't give a shit. So, rap mags try and use my black ass so advertisers could give them more cash for ads. Fuckers, I don't know what you take me as or understand the intelligence that Jay-Z has. I'm from rags, the richest niggas, I ain't dumb. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Hit me. 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Hit me. Yeah, it's 94 and my trunk is raw. In my rear view mirror is the motherfucking law. Got two choices, y'all. Pull over the car or bounce on the devil, put the pedal to the floor. And I ain't trying to see no highway chase with Jake. Plus I got a few dollars, I can fight the case. So I pull over to the side of the road. I heard, son, do you know I'm stopping you for? Cause I'm young and I'm black and my hat's real low. Do I look like a mind reader, sir? I don't know. Am I under arrest or should I guess some more? Well, you was doing 55 in the 54. Lost the registration and step out of the car. You carrying a weapon on you? I know a lot of you are. I ain't stepping out of shit. All my papers legit. Well, do you mind if I look around the car a little bit? And my glove compartment is locked, so it's the trunk in the back. And I know my rights, so you gon' need a warrant for that. Aren't you sharp as tack? You some type of law or something, somebody important or something. I ain't passed the ball, but I know a little bit enough that you wanna legally search my shit. Well, we'll see how smart you are when the K9 comes. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Hit me. 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Hit me. 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Hit me. Once upon a time, not too long ago, a nigga like myself had a strong arm, a hoe. This is not a hoe in the sense of having a pussy, but a pussy having no goddamn sense. Try and push me. I try to ignore him, talk to the Lord, pray for him, but some fools just love to perform. You know the type, loud as a motorbike, but wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. And the only thing that's gonna happen is I'ma get the clapping, and he and his boys gonna be yapping to the captain. And there I go trapped in the Kit Kat again. Back through the system with the riff-raff again. Fiends on the floor, scratching again. Paparazzis with their cameras, snapping them. DA try to give a nigga shaft again. $500,000 for bail cause I'm African. Or because the fool was harassing them. Trying to play the boy like he's saccharine. But ain't none sweet but I hold my gun. I got 99 pounds, being a bitch ain't one. Hit me. 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Hit me. 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Hit me. Having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems and bitch ain't one. You crazy for this one, Rick? It's your boy.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Just Passing Through podcast. I'm not sure what episode we're on, but if you watch it on YouTube, a number should be coming up right there now. Now, not having a dog in a fight and being able to sit back and watch is quite funny. And what I'm laughing at the moment is Donald Trump's getting charged and he might be going to prison. Now, I don't want him to go to prison. He's an old fella. He's not done anything to piss me off. Quite the opposite, to be honest. He puts a lot of smiles on my face. The fact that he annoys people that if I let him annoy me, they would annoy me. But the fact that he can piss people off, I always give him a gold star for that. Now, he's got another 34 felony charges to his name for paying off a porn star. I don't know if he's guilty of any of these charges, but the other stuff that they're trying to get him on, collusion with Russia, shit like that, they couldn't get him on. This seems to be the one that you'd kind of brush under the carpet. You know, what is the fella done really? When you cut back the weeds and just have a look, he's paid a woman off who gets banged on film. She does it for a living, and he's paid her off to keep the fact quiet that he's been banging her, not on film, so there's no recording of it. There's no evidence that he's been balls deep in old Stormy Daniels. There's no evidence of it. But he's paid her off nonetheless to keep her trap shut. One, so he don't get in bother with wife, and two, so he can have a straight run to the presidency back in 2016. So he's paid her off. And how much did it cost him? $140,000 or £104,000. Which, for a man that is worth $7.5 billion, is a bit cheap. If we were to scale it back, and we're talking about the likes of me, this is your standard Yorkshireman is wanting to keep this from his girlfriend or keep it from his wife. I would drop the woman 200 quid and take her for a curry. And Trump's kind of doing the same as that. You know, you see, if you were to see Trump walking down the street and you didn't know who he was, you know, you see a fella getting up there in the years, he's trying to keep his hand in with his youthful looks by daubing himself with orange paint, dyeing his hair, combing it over. He's still trying to look, you know, fuckable to younger women. That's all he's doing. He's just trying to still look fuckable, and he's still in the chase for a bit of poontang, as the young people used to say back in the 70s. And that's what he's doing. And all he's done is paid off a woman that he's been banging. And if you were to see him walking down the street, you'd kind of think, yep, that's the sort of fella that would do that sort of thing. And that's what they're getting him on. I can see why Biden wants this running through very quickly. If we can get him locked up, he's not going to be a problem anymore. But I think I think Biden is shooting himself in his colostomy bag, to be honest. He's making more of a mess for himself. You get Trump charged, he goes to prison. That is just going to make his popularity skyrocket, especially on this charge. He is getting charged with paying off a woman who is younger than me. I don't even think Stormy Daniels is at 50 yet. Looking at her, you'd think mid-40s. Looking at her, you'd think mid-40s. So he's paying off a woman that he's been shagging who is younger than his wife. And he's just doing that so he don't get in bother. He don't want an awkward silence of at dinner table. That's all he's done it for, if you cut back the weeds. Like every man who's ever cheated on his wife or his girlfriend, you need to keep it on the fucking down low. Keep it fucking quiet. If she's piping up a bit, which it doesn't seem she was. It doesn't seem she was at all. It looks like Cohen's just gone to her before, and he's got ahead of the problem. And he said, look, your boy is going for presidency, and he wants to keep the fact that he were up to his nuts in guts with you a few years ago. Can you just keep it quiet? Stormy Daniels has got $140,000 just dropped in her lap for just keeping a gob shut. And that's what you do. You just keep your trap shut. And she has. She's kept up her end of the bargain. And I mean, what is the option? I mean, what do these people in Washington do when you don't keep your trap shut? You're fucking gone. Look at these people, these fellas that there were a fella hanging from a tree and he'd shot himself twice in the chest. Suicide. Epstein. He had everybody on the hook. Oh, he hung himself. Well, you don't get injuries like that when you hang yourself. Trump, he's done the decent thing. Look, Stormy, I'm not a man of politics, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you this money. Just keep it quiet. It's a much more civilised way of going about your business. And that's what he's done. And because he's played Mr. Nice Guy, he's getting in shit for it. He must be thinking, what the fuck am I playing at? If I'd have just killed her, we wouldn't be having this problem. But he's not. I mean, look at those three fellas at Boeing, those whistleblowers at Boeing. I mean, Boeing with their aviation problems and all those weapons that they make, you know, three fellas have come out. Well, yes, when we did some testing, there were cracks that appeared which could cause crashes in the future. Bang, bang, a new fucking bang. Gone. They are now, as we speak, taking the longest fucking dirt naps known to man. Do you think if they'd have been offered a few bob, they'd have kept their mouth shut? Possibly. But they didn't. And I mean, one of these fellas were retired. So if somebody gives him a golden handshake just to keep his trap shut, I mean, it's Boeing. They're going to give you at least a couple of million. I'd keep my mouth shut for a couple of million and I just won't fly on Boeing jets ever again. But no, Boeing could not take that risk, so they just did away with them. That's how Washington works, but because Trump isn't a Washington fella, did it the old-fashioned way. He gave us some hush money. And it has blown up in his face. The thing I'm taking issue with, I do not know who these artists are in court, but I think they've got retards to draw them. Now, why it looks like they're drawing in chalk or fucking crayons, some of these things, I'll put some pictures up here and here for them of you watching on YouTube. It seems like they've got retards in to draw these people. I mean, Stormy Daniels has obviously seen better days. She has definitely seen better days. For research purposes, only for research purposes, I looked at her work from the past, and she was fucking quite hot, actually, back in the day. I mean, she's working now, which is a bit rough because she's a mother. And she's got this big stomach tattoo, which, I mean, it doesn't look well on hot women, but when you're up there in the numbers, it looks even worse. Yeah, she's got this big stomach tattoo, and it's not looking good. But if you look at the artist's impressions of courts, she looks worse than fucking Trump. She looks worse than Trump. I mean, Trump is never, ever going to look good ever again. I mean, back in the day, I suppose he was kind of handsome. He once said that he looked like Elvis. Don't look like Elvis, Don lad. You're not looking like Elvis. Don't matter how pissed I'm getting, you are not looking like Elvis. But on these artists' impressions that you get from these court artists, I have no idea where that's coming from. I could do better. Going back to that previous episode when my dad walked into Salt's Mill and looked at these Orkney paintings and said, I could do better than this. I know if I were just given a chance, if I had a couple of pencils and stuff, I think I could draw a better artist's impression of Trump and Stormy Daniels than what some of these artists are doing. Now, I know that they're under pressure to get these pictures out there. Are people in the stand like for 2 minutes that you've got to get a quick impression? Surely you've got longer than that. Surely you've got longer than that to get down your impressions of the court's day or whatever. Surely you've got a lot longer than what looks to be a rushed drawing. And I mean, these court artists, when they're coming out and they're having to hand in the copies to whatever news outlet is buying them, surely that reporter is going to look at him and go, really? We're fucking paying you for this? We're paying you for this. It looks like a severely autistic person has drawn it with the weak hand blindfolded. That is all I can describe it as, because it obviously Trump is easy to pick out in a crowd, and you could quite easily draw something and you go, yeah, that's Trump. But Stormy Daniels, I don't know what they were looking at when they were drawing Stormy Daniels. You'd go to people like this in Greece or Turkey, late 80s, early 90s, and you'd get your portrait drawn. And these were shysters, fucking shysters. But they did a better job. You'd be better getting those fucking Greek criminals, you might as well call them, from fucking Bodrum or Marmaris over to that New York court. They'd do a better job. They'd do a better job than these fucking chancers. I went back online when I was researching this because I think the only innocent party in this is old Melania. And you see her now. I mean, you saw her in the 4 years when she were First Lady. And, you know, she still looked good. But I think this Stormy Daniels stuff has aged her. And for the first time, I think, since I've ever seen her photographed, she's showing it now. I mean, she's a couple of years younger than me. She's kept herself in tip-top condition her entire life because her face and her body is what has had to make her the money over the years. And now she's thinking, come on, Donald. I've allowed your hulking 24, 25-year-old frame do whatever it wants to me for the last, I don't know how many years. And this is how you treat me? You go banging some mid-level porn star. It's getting out there. The whole world knows you've done it. Half of the country wants to string you up for it. The other half of the country wants to put you on a pedestal for doing this. And I think it's getting to her now. And imagine if it were your lad. Imagine your lad. I mean, old Barron's in his teenage years now. I mean, my dad, I couldn't imagine my dad getting caught for banging a porn star. I couldn't imagine the shit he'd be in if he went home. My mother never really had both hands on the wheel her entire life. But my dad coming home and getting caught out for banging a porn star or banging just anybody, his life would be in a world of shit. And those Eastern European women don't really have a reputation for letting stuff go. They're like a dog with a fucking bone. They will not let it go. So God knows, however much shit Donald Trump must be going through with these court cases, I bet it pales into insignificance to what he's going home to this Slovenian model. She must be tearing him a new arsehole every fucking day. Now, when you look at these presidents that have taken the job in America, you look at Obama. You look at Obama then in 2008 when he took the job, and you look at Obama 8 years later when he left. The fucker's aged. And the fucker's... He's not aged well. He's not aged well. You look at Clinton and how he aged. The fucker's a shadow. That fucker's Biden now. He's Biden now. And I know a blowjob got him kicked out of office. He must be going fucking bananas now. I mean, Trump's banging porn stars, getting caught for paying hush money. He's not getting kicked out there. He's not out of the race. He's talking about grabbing women bit minge on a bus. He's not out of there. Old Clinton is getting sucked off by an intern under White House desk. He says, of course that didn't happen. And they found it to be wrong. And he's out. The fucker's out. And then Trump, it just sails over him. It just sails over him. He's always looked terrible. When he got into office in 2016, 2017, he looked terrible. When he left, obviously he still looks terrible. He's never going to look good. Don't matter how much orange paint you put on your face. It don't matter how much you do your hair. Trump is never, ever going to look good. But he hasn't aged. I'll give him that. He doesn't seem to be losing his marbles. He's still a divider. But he's still funny. It's still interesting. I mean, there is a general election going on in the UK on the 7th of July. And we've got Sunak and Starmer. Now, as people, apart from how they look and colour of the skin, it's just fucking vanilla. It's just vanilla. It's like, do we go with this vanilla or do we go with a vanilla and a flake? And that's the choice. That's the choice you're going for. It's not going to be. You're not going to catch Sunak balls deep in an Eastern European hooker. You're not going to catch Starmer, on the beach with a woman of a questionable age. That's not going to happen. It's boring. It's boring. But with America and Trump and Biden, who, can he ever trust a fart again? I mean, the fucker doesn't know what day it is. I remember going back to England after 3 years in 2009, maybe 9, and my mother had started with dementia. So when I left in 2006, she was kind of right as rain. And when I went back, my mother seemed to be on the cusp of what Biden's on now. And we wouldn't even, me and my dad wouldn't even trust my mother with remote control then. And yet Biden's got his finger on button. And I think if Trump wins and he's the first serving president that has to do it from prison, it's going to be fantastic. Because Biden must be shitting himself. If Biden can put a fucking thought together, he must be shitting himself, because Trump is coming for your son and he's coming for you with all this Ukraine stuff. I mean, with Hunter Biden, the fucker were mainlining meth for years. The hookers, the amount of money he must have spent on hookers. And if you look at Biden's kids, or especially this one, and you look at Trump's kids, I mean Trump's kids, he's got 3 kids. They don't seem to be getting into the bother that Hunter Biden is. Now, when you've got shitty parents, you've got shitty kids. And from what I've seen, I know the rich kids, they don't seem to be that much of knobheads, do they, really? When you compare them to what Hunter Biden's been getting up to, going around Ukraine, collecting suitcases full of dollars, jumping in his Porsche, driving at fucking 300 miles an hour to Las Vegas with hookers and cocaine. I mean, colourful as it may be, do you really want that to be the son of a sitting president who don't know what fucking day it is? So what I will say before I wrap this up, there is an election in America in November. There is an election in England, in the UK, in July. You are not going to get the fun from the election in England. So I'm going to ignore it, and I'm just going to concentrate on the one in America, because that is where it's at. I'm not angry with anybody, because even if I am, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? I'm always for the comedy. So I'm going with the comedy. I know Sunak, let's get these kids in national service. All right, get them in national service. He wants to sign everybody up that's 18 to do a year or 2 in the military. Fuck you, Sunak. You've ruined the fucking country. The kids have got no prospects. They've got no decent jobs to go to. They can't afford to move into an house because it's so expensive. I know, let's throw them in the military. Send your kids into the military first. You know, your kids are kids of a prime minister and a billionaire heiress. You go in and send your kids into the military first before you start thinking about sending my kids into the military. You fucking silver spoon motherfucker. Do that. Fucking national service. So this is why you can't deal with these fuckers in England. It's why you can't... They have no idea what it's like. Trump, another one who has no idea what the real world is like. But he brings comedy. He brings comedy. So keep your eye on that. Is he going to go to jail? I doubt it. Is he going to get found guilty? Probably. Probably going to get found guilty on this. Is he going to hold a grudge? God, I hope so. Of course he is. Of course he is. And if he wins, fucking Biden beware. You say Biden beware. They'll tell him he's, I think 2 years down the line when he's found guilty of corruption and taking all that money out of Ukraine, they'll tell him and he'll say, really? And he'll probably shit himself. And not because he's scared, because he has no control over his arsehole. And I'm talking his literal arsehole, not his son. Anyway, that's that. Keep an eye on the politics that's going on in America if you want. But just do it for the comedy, because there's nothing else really going on at the moment. And I'll see you when I see you. Adios.
I got a wings to fly. I got horses to team, fudge you like a bee.